Welcome to Oklahoma Sports Scene, and hello again, everyone. I'm Chris Lincoln from the Billy Sims Barbecue and the Farm Shopping Center in Tulsa, Oklahoma, on Cox Channel 3 Year View across the state of Oklahoma and YouTube anywhere in the world. Let's take a look at our show lineup this week. Mike Carter, Oral Roberts University Emeritus Athletic Director, and the Athletic Center named in his honor, dedicated last week. He'll be here to talk about that and his great career at ORU. Tulsa Oilers got their first victory on the road, the Indoor Football League franchise. I'll have a couple of special guests to talk about that. OU football spring wrap-up. Eric Bailey of the Tulsa World will cover the spring game this past Saturday. And Kentucky Derby preview with Randy Moss, NBC's analyst for Thoroughbred Racing. Let's check this week's now hot topics from the Tulsa World. And of course, it's NFL Draft Week. National Football League holds its draft, its 88th player draft, this Thursday, Friday, and Saturday in Kansas City. The 3 days, they'll be selecting 259 players into the NFL. Locally, here's a list of top draft prospects. OU, Anton Harrison, Marvin Mims, Eric Gray, and Jalen Redmond. OSU, they expect to have drafted Taylor Lacey, Brock Martin, Jason Taylor II, and TU, looking to hopefully get Deneric Prince at running back drafted in the NFL. We also, don't forget, the Ultimate Draft Party is this Thursday, April 27th at the Hard Rock Hotel and Casino. Tickets $100, a lot of former players there and stuff, all the food and drink. Have a great time. We'll be enjoying the draft out there at the Hard Rock. Hey, Bob Stoops' Renegades from Arlington are in the XFL playoffs. Former Sooner head coach, his team lost their final regular season game, but they ended up with a 3-3 South Division record, good for second place in the conference, and qualified them for the playoffs. They will take on Houston, the South Division champion, next Saturday at 6 p.m. Then Seattle was the top team in the North, along with D.C. They'll be playing Sunday at 2 p.m. The XFL's first national championship game will be Sunday, May 13th, 7 p.m. on ABC. Tulsa Oilers won their very first ever indoor professional football league game up in Iowa this past weekend. A couple of special guests coming up later on the show to give you that in more detail and highlights of that big win for them. Tulsa Drillers are on the road this week in a battle for first place in the Texas League at Arkansas. Both teams are 10-5. Tulsa took 4 of 6 in Wichita this past week, led by Johnny DeLuca, who had 4 consecutive home runs in 4 games. Drillers return then to One Oak Field for a 6-game homestand, not once but twice, back-to-back. San Antonio, May 2nd through 7th. Then Springfield comes in May 9th through the 14th. Lots of baseball coming up next month. FC Tulsa, after an open date this past weekend, they return to the home pitch. Saturday night, the 29th, they'll be hosting Sacramento Republic FC. That's at One Oak Field. They'll kick at 5 p.m. Live Golf comes to Tulsa May 12th through the 14th. The International Golf Championships will be here at Broken Arrow's Cedar Ridge Country Club. Saturday and Sunday, both days are $49. The opening round on Friday is $39. You get a 3-day pass, just $123 to watch Live Golf at Broken Arrow Cedar Ridge Country Club. I have a special guest coming up, preview more of that too. Next, Mike Carter, talking about the new athletic center named in his honor at Oral Roberts University. Straight ahead, glad you're with us on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
You did it, Tulsa. You name the team. We name the team. You name the team. The Tulsa Oilers indoor football team kicks off in March, Saturday nights, 7 p.m., BOK Center. Season tickets are on sale now. Go to TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com to get your season tickets now. Don't miss your chance to experience the fast pace, helmet-hitting, pad-popping excitement of professional indoor football. TulsaOilersFootball.com. TulsaOilersFootball.com.
Billy Sims knows barbecue. How about 9 meats, including brisket, chicken, pork, turkey, and ribs? Just to name a few, and 7 home-style sides. We start early to slow smoke the most delicious meats for over 12 hours.
Every day.
Wherever you want, online, dine-in, curbside, or carry-out. We've had a passion for over 15 years of serving delicious barbecue to people like you. Billy Sims has fast, drop-in friendly neighborhood service, loud enough for a tailgate and fancy enough for a wedding. Like we said, Billy Sims knows barbecue.
Remington Park Racing returns with the 2023 Spring Quarter Horse season, running from March 9 to June 3rd. $1 million races, multiple Saturday programs featuring the best horses in big money action, and racing champions all competing throughout the season. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Thursday through Sunday. First race at 6 p.m. nightly, Sunday afternoon racing 4 p.m. The top quarter horse paint and Appaloosa racing season continues through June 3rd at Remington Park.
This episode is sponsored by Equity Bank. Athletes work hard day in and day out to improve their game. They put in time and effort to stay in shape and bring their A game for the big day. Our tellers do the same thing with bacon. We work hard to serve our communities and keep your money safe. Equity Bank, we never forget it's your money.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
Back on Oklahoma Sports Scene with a guy that has one of the best titles in all sports. This is Mike Carter. Listen to this. Mike is the current Vice President of Development and Alumni Relations and Athletic Director Emeritus at Roberts University. Mike, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Chris.
And congratulations on a fantastic career that's still going on, and of course, the dedication of the recent Mike Carter Athletic Center.
Well, thank you. Thank you. It's all about the coaches and the kids.
Let's talk about your background at ORU. You were a long-time Tulsa attorney, especially in sports law and such, for what, over 20 years. Then all of a sudden you get the call, Roberts University said, we'd like to have you come as athletic director. That was what, 1994, right?
Correct.
And what possessed you to think of leaving law to get into athletic director?
Well, I had represented Bill Self.
Oh,
when he took the job in '93. Bill and I are still good friends.
That's
but
great.
I negotiated his contract, and then a year later, the athletic director stepped down, Bob Brooks.
Well, I remember Bob, sure.
And I was on the search committee, and we offered it to two people. They turned it down, and then Bill said, "How about you?" And I said, "Well, I got good law practice."
Yeah, exactly.
And about that time, God tapped me on the shoulder and said, "No, you don't. Your two biggest clients just cashed out." So Paul and I started talking about it and thought, as much as I have loved athletics all my life, let's give it a shot, and rest is history.
Since 1994, athletic director at Roberts University, what are some of the accomplishments you're most proud of, your student athletes and those teams during those times?
Well, what I'm really proud of is to see the success rate for graduation, and to see these kids come to know the Lord,
right,
which is what Oral Roberts University is all
sure,
about. Then certainly we're excited about the continued run that baseball has, and then our success in basketball. The other sports are certainly important, but those are the highlights. And then between Andretti Bain and Jack Witt, we had several national championships in track. So some great highlights there. But really, when your student athletes can produce a 3.43 and then this year a 3.45,
wow,
then you have to be proud of what they're doing in the classroom and getting ready for the future.
You know, a big part of the Mike Carter says athletic center, but a big part of that too for the student athletes is going to be that second floor, I believe, is going to be their floor with academic center, right?
Correct. We call it the Eli Center, and
after your mascot.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah, and education, leadership is part of it too. So we're going to have a lot of room up there to work with the kids. A lot of computers, computer space, and room for tutoring. So it's going to be about 4 times the space we have now.
Let's talk about now the Mike Carter Athletic Center. Take a look at it. We have some drone shots of the facilities right next to the Mabee Center, the great complex. And what a great job, by the way, Mike, they've done renovating the Mabee Center.
Absolutely. That was a priority of Dr. Wilson. And he wanted to change the color scheme. He wanted to change the seats to blue, which has just made all the difference in the world. And in the process, we built 3 additional suites, and we have more suites planned. And then renovated the concourse completely. Yeah. So almost looks like a new building.
Let's go inside now, the Mike Carter Athletic Center. And I guess the first floor, as soon as you walk in, the first thing you see is to your right, men's basketball practice court, and then go on down, women's basketball court. No longer having to move chairs out of the way of the Mabee Center for conventions and different events there to practice.
Right, or to share court space.
That's right, yeah.
And the student athletes will now have access 24/7 to those courts. So if they want to get better, it's right there. It's in front of them.
I was impressed too, as you, on the other side, as you go in the building, look toward your left there of the court, This is massive weight and conditioning center. It's just incredible.
10,000 square feet of the latest equipment.
Wow.
And in our current space, we had to come in shifts. The team,
Right, yeah.
we couldn't fit some of the teams in there.
Yeah.
So they'd have to come in 3 shifts. Now we can get everybody in there, and it's just going to be far better.
Notice a nutrition center as well.
Yes,
Yeah?
absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
Big part of it all. And then on the 3rd floor will be in there. That's the last one being finished. The coaches were telling me they're going to get moving there later in the year, but that'll be all the coaches' office, administrators up there on the top floor, right? So
Yes.
everything contained.
Yes.
Well, that's great. And I'm just, again, so impressed with recruits coming in. And look at this facility. Well, no, wait a minute. I thought Oral Roberts was a mid-major. Nothing like this mid-major or,
No.
as far as I'm concerned, in the top division.
Yeah. This is not a mid-major facility. This is top of the class, and it's going to be impressive to recruits.
They made it very clear in the dedication this past Wednesday that this truly, God's hand touched this place.
No question.
Because a long time, I guess, Tim Johnson approached Dr. Wilson, what do you need? Well, we could really use the facility. Yeah, right. For how much? 16 million? Whatever. No, that's not going to happen. He said, all of a sudden, there's that 2018 run to the Sweet 16.
Right. Tim had come to me with a plan, and he said, "Is this a pipe dream?" I said, "Yeah, it's a pipe dream. We're in the middle of a $75 million capital campaign for other buildings on campus, and we can't put this in the middle of it."
Sure.
Then when we hit the Sweet 16, major donor came forward, and he had seen our coach and student athletes giving God credit for their talents and their opportunities. And he said, now that I see that athletics is in line with the mission of the university, what can we do for athletics?
Yeah.
And we pulled that pipe dream out, and suddenly it became a reality.
I'm convinced that God must pay cash. I've never seen buildings go up as fast, Mike, on a campus in my life. That new welcoming center.
Welcome Center
And
is
right
complete.
behind that's another.
Is a library.
Yeah.
J.D. McKean Library. It will be finished this summer. And in the summer of 24, we'll finish the new Media Arts Center.
Gosh.
And we have a new renovated College of Business, thanks to Rick Fenimore and Terry Fisher.
Gosh.
So a lot of stuff. I mean, in that process, we have $106 million of projects that are either paid for or committed, and they're under construction or have been completed.
You can help out too. Coming up on June the 12th, I noticed, Oral Roberts Pro-Am charity golf event out at Meadowbrook Country Club to benefit ORU's 250 plus student athletes. Tell us
Yes.
about that.
Well, it'll be a fun day of golf.
Yeah.
We'll have several of our former All-Americans in here. They'll be playing, get to meet the people, and the proceeds go to scholarships for our student athletes.
I had to ask you, Mike, before you go too. You and your wife Paula, done such great work with the Scott Carter Foundation, with raising money to help again children's cancer research. And update us on the foundation.
Well, we didn't have much choice to form the foundation, as you know.
I know, yeah.
Scott was diagnosed when he was 11, had lost a leg to bone cancer. Make-A-Wish came to him and said, "You want to meet somebody famous? You want to go to Disney World?" He said, "Oh, I go to Disney World a lot with my parents, and I've met a lot of famous people like Michael Jordan and Nolan Ryan and Barry Sanders and Garth Brooks and Muhammad Ali."
Wow.
They said, "Wow." He said, "Let's take my sports memorabilia collection. We'll take it around the country and let people enjoy it. We'll take up donations and give the money to cancer research and find a cure for cancer."
Wow.
Well, they looked at this 12-year-old and went,
12,
right.
12 at the time.
Yeah. And they didn't have any idea what's in the collection. I mean, the collection is full of Hall of Fame jerseys, balls, shoes, bats, hockey sticks.
And it's just recently come home from being at Disney World for all those years, right?
Right. It toured Oklahoma for a while.
Right.
And then I wrote a letter to Disney World when they were building the Wide World of Sports.
Yes.
And said, "You need a sports memorabilia collection with a story behind it." And they sent a truck and picked it up, and it was on display for 22 years.
Wow, isn't that great?
So millions got to see it. That
Yes.
part of Scott's dream has been completed, and now we're looking forward to displaying it again in Oklahoma, and we have updated it with a lot more sports memorabilia autographed items.
Mike Carter, Vice President of Development and Alumni Relations, Athletic Director Emeritus, still raising funds, and nobody says no to this man. Mike Carter, thanks for coming on.
Thank you,
Congratulations
Chris.
again, sir.
Thank you.
Come right back with another good story for you. Hey, we have the Tulsa Oilers' first football victory of our new indoor professional football league team. They'll be coming up next.
This episode is sponsored by Equity Bank. Athletes work hard day in and day out to improve their game. They put in time and effort to stay in shape and bring their A game for the big day. Our tellers do the same thing with bacon. We work hard to serve our communities and keep your money safe. Equity Bank. We never forget it's your money.
You did it, Tulsa. You name the team. We name the team. You name the team. The Tulsa Oilers indoor football team kicks off in March, Saturday nights, 7 p.m., BOK Center. Season tickets are on sale now. Go to TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com to get your season tickets now. Don't miss your chance to experience the fast pace, helmet-hitting, pad-popping excitement of professional indoor football. TulsaOilersFootball.com. TulsaOilersFootball.com.
Remington Park Racing returns with the 2023 Spring Quarter Horse season, running from March 9 to June 3rd. $1 million races, multiple Saturday programs featuring the best horses in big money action, and racing champions all competing throughout the season. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Thursday through Sunday. First race at 6 p.m. nightly, Sunday afternoon racing 4 p.m. The top quarter horse paint and Appaloosa racing season continues through June 3rd at Remington Park.
Billy Sims knows barbecue. How about 9 meats, including brisket, chicken, pork, turkey, and ribs? Just to name a few, and 7 home-style sides. We start early to slow smoke the most delicious meats for over 12 hours.
Every day.
Wherever you want, online, dine-in, curbside, or carry-out. We've had a passion for over 15 years of serving delicious barbecue to people like you. Billy Sims has fast, drop-in friendly neighborhood service, loud enough for a tailgate and fancy enough for a wedding. Like we said, Billy Sims knows barbecue.
We're here for a celebration of Oklahoma sports scene, celebrating the very first victory for our Tulsa Oilers football indoor professional team that just won in Iowa this past weekend. Joining us, Luke Hamilton. He's the voice of the Oilers football team. One of the stars of the game. Trey Harvey's with us too with some local connections. But first of all, Luke, congratulations to the franchise. Maybe a great win, fun trip home, huh?
Yeah, no doubt. It's a lot better coming home from any trip, with a win, much less your first win in franchise history. I think everybody on that bus and everybody involved in it, including everybody watching and listening to the broadcast, just felt that they were a part of it. So the city of Tulsa is really proud of it, and we're really proud of it, and it's an exciting one.
I saw it. I must have misread this. This guy named Trey Harvey scored the winning touchdown. I thought you were on the other side of the ball, defensive. How did you end up on the offensive side of the ball there?
Yeah, so like I was telling you earlier, unfortunately we had some injuries on the offensive side, and I have a background in offense. That's what I played in college, and so Coach Purdue has made sure that I knew the offensive playbook just in case. And so I was already prepared. I just needed an opportunity, and so that popped up, and I just did what I do best.
Pretty dramatic. 11-yard run with just 4:06 left to play, right, to wrap it up?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no doubt. It was a bulldog play by Trey Harvey, without a doubt. So.
All right, let's talk about this game. As usual, it seems like we fell behind early and had to really fight back. So this Iowa team got a great history up there, too.
Yeah, they do. I mean, everybody knows the Iowa Barnstormers when it comes to the indoor and arena style game. Similar to our upcoming opponent too, with the Arizona Rattlers.
Didn't they, at one time?
Yeah, no doubt. I was going to say his Raptors, the Raptors there up in Wells Fargo Arena have Kurt Warner up in there without a doubt. So the big number 13, no doubt. So everybody knows the Barnstormers and everybody can associate it with Kurt Warner. So the legacy's there, and so it's definitely fun to get a win there.
Thought it was interesting too. Again, it shows to me the support. Andy Skirto, your owner, is giving this franchise and get what they need done. And they lose their first few games here, and all of a sudden they come back and I get released from you. We signed two new quarterbacks, and they both had impacts in this game. Talk about the signings and what they did at the game.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, that position is something that head coach Marvin Jones has been looking to solidify here through the first 3 weeks, and he found a way to bring in a pair of quarterbacks that have found success at not only the IFL level, but the CIF level as well. You look at Damian May, and he was sitting behind a quarterback like E.J. Hilliard in Quad City, and that's about as good as it gets to be able to sit down and be in a locker room with a quarterback like that. And he's an all-around athlete. You saw his opportunities in the wide receiver position even this past week and made a good impact on the game. Vincent Espinoza had a great game at quarterback. He's coming off of a CIF Player of the Week award in late March and found a way to really contribute on the ground as well through the air. So I think that's what we've been looking for at the QB position, is a little bit of versatility, and he brought that.
He threw 4 touchdown passes in the game too, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, he was flying all over the place. He just found the receivers at the right time. You know, it really is an important game in the indoor style game to come up with those plays at the right moment. It's such a little room for error sport, and he really didn't have any.
That final score, by the way, was Tulsa 54, Iowa 48. And now I know Trey, giving up 48 points kills a defensive guy, but in this arena football, this indoor football, that's not many points to give up when you think of the wide open play of this thing.
Yeah, well, being a defensive guy, our goal is to come out and have a shutout every game. You know, we don't. If they can't score, they can't win.
That's
and
right.
So, giving up points. You know, we've been trying to figure it out. We finally had a trend downward. You know, for the first 3 games, the teams had scored more points every game, and so this is the first game back where we've actually held a team to lower points than the game before. And so we're still figuring stuff out, just working on the little things on defense. But yeah, giving up 48 points isn't the best, but thankfully the offense stepped up and was able to score more points than them.
We had to come back from a 34-13 deficit at one time in that game, right?
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, myself and our color guy, of course, Zach Reynolds,
Zach,
we talked about it going into halftime, just how important that score was late in the half to make it 34-19 going into the break. It ended up being a 6-point win. That was a 6-point swing at the time, and you could just feel that score to end the half was going to mean a lot, and it did in the end.
Then we exploded in the second half, got off to a great start with that kickoff return.
Yeah, Brito Tutt, I think everybody on the sideline as well was excited about that one. Look, you have to come out in that second half with a good start, right? I mean, it was going to take just about a perfect half to find a way to not only compete and go back and forth with Iowa, but to have a swing that the team needed, and they did so right out of the gate.
Trey, you're playing for a defensive coach, a legendary coach, Florida State, of course, All-American, New York Jets, veteran NFL player. What's that like to work under Coach Jones?
It's a blessing, honestly, and a pleasure to just be able to pick his brain and just be able to receive the knowledge that he has, especially with his experience in the indoor game and also the outdoor game, and him kind of doing a good mix of both. It's been awesome just being able to learn from him as a linebacker, you know, as myself, and just kind of see the little things that he does, the drills that he might do after practice and before practice to kind of tweak the little things that I might need to get better at with footwork or just my hands or being in the right position in zone coverage or my blitzing techniques. So I've just been trying to be in sponge mode in practice and being around him and just try to soak up all the information he can give me.
Extra pride for us, too, because you got a local connection. Tell us about your local connections here.
Yes, born and raised here in Tulsa, so I have a lot of pride for the 918, and being able to play for this city and to be able to play in front of my friends and family has just been a huge honor and pleasure, honestly.
I also talked about the game ended on a couple of very big defensive plays. He had one of them, too.
Yeah, no doubt. On the offensive side, it was fun watching this guy barrel his way into the end zone, but we needed that interception as well by Brito Tutt at the end of the game. That ball is a jump ball, and if that ball is brought down by Iowa, it's an extra point away from a win for the Barnstormers that night. So just everybody came up large late in the game, and that was what was important. I think those things add up, not only just tangibly in a win, but it adds up in your confidence into next week. And so I think everybody on both sides of the ball, including this guy right here on the offensive side, showed that we've got some versatility on this team, and we can make plays when we need to.
Let's make some history this Saturday night with our first home victory, hosting the Arizona Rattlers. What do you expect? They're a team with a lot of history in this league.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I think everybody, even my age, growing up around the Arena Football League, remember the Arizona Rattlers to sort of associate the indoor game with them, and they're a really fun team to watch. They're 2-3 this year, off to a little bit of a slower start than they're used to. I believe under their head coach, they average just about 14 wins a year. Under his tenure, coming into his 13th season, Kevin Guy. So they're a well-coached team, but on top of that, it's an opportunity to come back home in front of the home fans, and we saw what the crowd was like. Arizona is a market that's used to crowds like that too, so it's going to be really fun to sort of show them what Tulsa has, without a doubt. A 7:05 kickoff, and you won't want to miss this one because the Arizona Rattlers, they're a fun one to watch.
See the BOK Saturday night, Tulsa against Arizona. Look for the play here of Trey Harvey, that linebacker. What's the number again, Trey?
24.
All right, March 24th. Listen to Luke Hamilton. Does a great job on the radio and streaming for the Oklahoma City team, Tulsa team has done such a great job and got off to a great start. The Tulsa fans really supporting our Oilers here, so get out there and be part of it. We're going back with more football, Oklahoma football. Have a talk with a guy who knows all about the Sooners, their spring game. Eric Bailey, Tulsa World, joins us next.
Remington Park Racing returns with the 2023 Spring Quarter Horse season, running from March 9 to June 3rd. $1 million races, multiple Saturday programs featuring the best horses in big money action, and racing champions all competing throughout the season. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Thursday through Sunday. First race at 6 p.m. nightly, Sunday afternoon racing 4 p.m. The top quarter horse paint and Appaloosa racing season continues through June 3rd at Remington Park.
Billy Sims knows barbecue. How about 9 meats, including brisket, chicken, pork, turkey, and ribs? Just to name a few, and 7 home-style sides. We start early to slow smoke the most delicious meats for over 12 hours.
Every day.
Wherever you want, online, dine in, curbside, or carry out. We've had a passion for over 15 years of serving delicious barbecue to people like you. Billy Sims has fast, drop-in friendly neighborhood service, loud enough for a tailgate and fancy enough for a wedding. Like we said, Billy Sims knows barbecue.
You did it, Tulsa. You name the team. We name the team. You name the team. The Tulsa Oilers indoor football team kicks off in March, Saturday nights, 7 p.m., BOK Center. Season tickets are on sale now. Go to TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com to get your season tickets now. Don't miss your chance to experience the fast pace, helmet-hitting, pad-popping excitement of professional indoor football. TulsaOilersFootball.com. TulsaOilersFootball.com.
This episode is sponsored by Equity Bank. Athletes work hard day in and day out to improve their game. They put in time and effort to stay in shape and bring their A game for the big day. Our tellers do the same thing with bacon. We work hard to serve our communities and keep your money safe. Equity Bank. We never forget it's your money.
Glad you're back with us here on Oklahoma Sports Scene, joined by a great friend of ours, a guy who's been a long-time sports writer in the area, Tulsa World's own Eric Bailey. He's been covering OU football forever and ever, including this spring. And Eric, I know you just came back from the spring game in Norman and stuff, covering the spring practices, and some of your first impressions of the 2023 Sooners.
You know, I was really impressed with just how everything flowed, and it's a growing process. I think last year the enthusiasm was there. This year was superseded by what's going to happen after the 6 and 7 year. I think that the program's headed in the right direction. I was impressed with a lot of the new faces. Of course, it's really just a dress rehearsal for the season. It's just a scrimmage, a lot of vanilla, but I was impressed with a lot of things I saw.
54,409 fans turned out for the spring football game at OU, one of the top attendance figures in all of college football for the spring games. But it all started early in the morning, 11 o'clock, with the Heisman dedication, the 7th one at Heisman Garden, this one to Kyler Murray.
Can you believe that? 7 Heisman Trophy winners in this program. It's pretty great. And
Should be 8.
Should be 8. Should be 8. I agree with you. It should be 8.
Kid about USC.
But no, I think that Kyler Murray, he came back and he felt the love. I mean, it seems like Baker Mayfield, same way last year. They come back to Oklahoma and the fans just wash them with the love and everything. And I think that's what happened on Saturday.
I saw a different Kyler Murray too. He's always very reserved, very quiet. He really warmed up to this. Is feeling great about it and stuff. And great reception. I think more than over 400 former players were there the weekend.
And that's the thing. I mean, it was funny. Kyler made everyone laugh because he said, when I came to school at Oklahoma, I think I went to the wrong school first, taking a little dig at Texas A&M. So, but no, when you look at his performance at OU, one of the greatest quarterbacks of all time. And I mean, he's up there at Oklahoma in that 1 year, just 1 year. Can you imagine if he came back another year and played?
And his accomplishments, I mean, never lost a game in high school, right?
Nope.
Player of the year and stuff, and just number one recruit in the entire country, and made the wrong choice for A&M. Got to OU and did a great job, of course, the 7th Heisman Trophy winner in the school's storied football history. Well, your story this morning, the Tulsa World, on Monday mornings we tape the show. The 10 things you liked and learned about this Oklahoma football team, so let's start counting them down. What do you think?
You know, Jackson Arnold and Peyton Bowen, 2 freshmen who were high school teammates, enrolled early at Oklahoma.
5-star kids.
5-star recruits. Both of them made an impact in the spring game. I mean, you look at Jackson Arnold, 53-yard touchdown run on his second play from scrimmage, unless you're wearing a blue jersey, where if you get touched or tackled, in a real game, it's a touchdown. You're just impressed with him, and everything's coming fast. There's going to be some mistakes, but that's just to be expected for a freshman quarterback. He completed 6 passes, looked good on the last play of regulation with a touchdown throw. Impressed with him. Peyton Bowen, I think he's the real deal. He's what this team has needed in the secondary. Had an outstanding interception in coverage on a deep ball, positioned himself well. It looked like a veteran, and it's hard to believe. He's just been in college for 2 or 3 months.
Okay, some of your other thoughts.
Some of their thoughts, I think that the running game kind of sour taste in your mouth if you're an OU fan because they really couldn't get anything established with the run game, but you got to remember that there's a lot of injuries up front.
Right.
A lot of injuries up front. And they had a lot of injuries in the backfield. Their top two rushers, Marcus Major and Javonte Barnes, were out. So I think you saw some young players try to play. So I think you just understand this is just a spring game. This is not what you're going to see in the fall. I think that was something. Justin Harrington, a young man who looked pretty good in the cheetah position. I think he's going to be really good. I think Kip Lewis, who led the game in tackles, he had 11 tackles, only weighs 205 pounds.
Wow.
And they want him to be the weak side linebacker. He's going to have to bulk up, but he has the athleticism. He has the knowledge to where he can make an impact at that position. So I'm excited about seeing how he progresses. And just overall, it's just the opportunity for this offense and this defense. They know what both coordinators want out of them. They know what Jeff Lebby wants out of the offense, Ted Roof and Brent Venables out of the defense. They have more expectations. They have more knowledge of this defense. I think it's making that next step.
Eric Bailey, sports writer of the Tulsa World. And Eric, what were your impressions of Coach Venables? How has he changed, matured, and learned? Because he said he had to learn to be a head coach, of course.
Yeah, and that's the thing everyone has to remember. Last year was his first year as a head coach. Everything was new, from the practice schedule to the media obligations to the Friday before the game to game day management. Everything was so new, and I think everything came fast and furious. And, he's not going to do anything half speed. He's going full speed the whole time. So I think he learned a lot from that first 12 months of what it means to, do everything within the program. And I think we talk about the players growing after 1 year of maturation. I think Brent Venables as a head coach is going to grow a lot after 1 year of maturation as well.
What is your feeling about, this team, can they contend for a Big 12 championship, and are they making the steps to get ready to make that jump after this year to the SEC?
If you're Oklahoma, you want momentum going from this year to the SEC year.
Right.
They really need to make forward progress because you can't go in there still slumbering. That's going to beat you alive if you go to the SEC struggling with 6 and 7 record. You can't do that again. So I think it's very important to gain momentum. I think the goal this year is to win that Big 12 title, reclaim it. They won 6 in a row, took a big step back last year. You really need to be one of those top 2 teams this year to really establish that momentum, not only going into the SEC, but you got to remember there's going to be 12 teams making the college football playoff. When that happens, you want to be one of those teams in the college football playoff. So you need to continue that momentum. And this is going to be an important bridge year for the Sooners between the Big 12 and the SEC.
We got to get these men's programs going out there. Football, basketball, right now, the women athletics are just dominating. National championship women, national championship softball, what a great programs those are.
You look at the women's basketball program. Let's start with there. They were top 25 all year, made it to the second round of the NCAA tournament. Jenny Baranchek's done an outstanding job, won 51 games in her first 2 years. Women's gymnastics with another national championship. And
6 in the last 9 years.
6 of the last 9. And when you look at what the program that they built and how much viewership women's gymnastics had this year, they put it on ABC in the middle of the day on Saturday, and they had a ton of viewers. That sport is only growing. And I think kids are growing up and they want to be, if you're a gymnast, you want to compete at Oklahoma. And Oklahoma, we talk about the SEC move. It's not just football, it's gymnastics. There are a ton of really good gymnastics
LSU
programs. LSU, exactly. Alabama. There's a ton of talent. And so Oklahoma's going to go to the SEC where gymnastics is huge. And then softball. We can't leave out softball. What they've done so far, Patty Gasso is amazing. Arguably, I would say she's the best coach in that school's history. Any sport.
Yeah.
They're about to win their third. Well, she'll kill me if you hear me say this. They're the odds-on favorite to win their third straight national championship. They've only lost one game. They lost in February, and they've gone 2 months now without losing a game. And you know how it's hard to win games.
And that was a loss to Baylor. And Baylor really challenged them. They went to Waco this past weekend, said we can shut down OU, and we blanked them twice and swept the series.
Swept the series, exactly. So I think that they're playing at such a high level. If you're Joe Castiglione, you're feeling really good about those women athletic programs.
All right, let's talk about the schedule of football, how it sets up. And it seems favorable. They start at home with Arkansas State. It should be a little more than a spring football scrimmage. September 2nd. The 9th, SMU comes into town. Then a fun trip. You can stay home, Eric, as OU comes over to Tulsa to play at TU, and the old offensive coordinator, Kevin Wilson, the new head coach there.
Well, you look at the schedule in Oklahoma. Originally, that second game of the season, September 9th, they were supposed to host Georgia.
Oh, I knew that. Right.
Yeah, and when Oklahoma joined the SEC, they had to make some schedule changes. So Georgia is not coming to Norman. It's the 100th. Yeah, exactly. And I said that too after Georgia won the national championship. It's the 100th year of Owen Field, where they play the football. So they wanted to have a special opponent come in. So years ago, Joe Castiglione targeted Georgia and said, "Would you mind playing here in 2023?" And they jumped all over it. Now look at where the programs are. It's probably a blessing in disguise that they had to reschedule it. But that's not a bad SMU program, too. So that's going to be a tough team. And then coming to Tulsa, how much fun is that?
Oh,
Just being here, Kevin Wilson, he's going to be reunited with Oklahoma. And, you know, that was where he really started his career to getting to be a head coach. So I'm really looking forward to coming like that. And guys like me and you, we don't have to drive far.
I like that. That's good for us for sure. Eric, done a great job as always covering these Sooners. I know you'll be all over to this seeing a little bit of break now. What's coming up next for you?
Little break, just getting ready for softball and the College World Series and, you know, the playoffs. I mean, covering OU softball. It doesn't slow down until when school's out, we're off.
And a trip to Disney World?
Trip to Disney World next week. Yeah, you're exactly right. You remember that in a couple of weeks.
Right.
My youngest daughter will not let me forget. As soon as school's over, we're going to Disney World. So spending a week there. Favorite place to eat.
Eric, thanks for joining us. Enjoy some Billy Sims barbecue over here. And we'll come right back. We're going to talk Kentucky Derby. A week from this Saturday, Randy Moss, NBC horse racing analyst, will join us next on Oklahoma Sports Scene.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
You did it, Tulsa. You name the team. We name the team. You name the team. The Tulsa Oilers indoor football team kicks off in March, Saturday nights, 7 p.m., BOK Center. Season tickets are on sale now. Go to TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com to get your season tickets now. Don't miss your chance to experience the fast pace, helmet hitting, pad popping excitement of professional indoor football. TulsaOilersFootball.com. TulsaOilersFootball.com.
This episode is sponsored by Equity Bank. Athletes work hard day in and day out to improve their game. They put in time and effort to stay in shape and bring their A game for the big day. Our tellers do the same thing with banking. We work hard to serve our communities and keep your money safe. Equity Bank. We never forget it's your money.
Billy Sims knows barbecue. How about 9 meats, including brisket, chicken, pork, turkey, and ribs? Just to name a few, and 7 home-style sides. We start early to slow smoke the most delicious meats for over 12 hours.
Every day.
Wherever you want, online, dine in, curbside, or carry out. We've had a passion for over 15 years of serving delicious barbecue to people like you. Billy Sims has fast, drop-in friendly neighborhood service, loud enough for a tailgate and fancy enough for a wedding. Like we said, Billy Sims knows barbecue.
Remington Park Racing returns with the 2023 Spring Quarter Horse season, running from March 9 to June 3rd. $1 million races, multiple Saturday programs featuring the best horses in big money action, and racing champions all competing throughout the season. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Thursday through Sunday. First race at 6 p.m. nightly, Sunday afternoon racing, 4 p.m. The top quarter horse paint and Appaloosa racing season continues through June 3rd at Remington Park.
One week from this Saturday, it's the 149th Kentucky Derby. One of the great events in all sports. Randy Moss, he and I worked together at ESPN for years. He's now NBC Sports top analyst. Here's his Kentucky Derby preview for you. You'll enjoy it.
You know, they're always interesting, Chris. There's always new storylines to talk about every year, and you know, all sorts of compelling things to talk about. And this year's no different. I mean, it's you know, I think a fascinating mixture of horses, not only from the United States, but this year from Japan as well.
And of course, all the talk's been about Forte, the Breeders' Cup juvenile winner, the juvenile champion. That doesn't necessarily bode well to be a Kentucky Derby winner, but and a Florida Derby winner. Any chink in his arm? I see he's still 5-2 favorite before the really big morning line comes out.
Yeah, I mean, Forte is admirably consistent. He is the most dependable and battle-tested horse in the Kentucky Derby. If you're looking for a chink in his armor, the only real thing I can see, Chris, is that, to my eye at least, and by the numbers, Forte is essentially running about as fast in April of his 3-year-old year as he was in October of his 2-year-old year. A lot of horses will start going up in their performances, and they will improve as they gain more maturity. Forte seems right now to be the kind of horse who is an early maturing horse as a 2-year-old and has not gotten appreciably better so far as a 3-year-old. So if any of the other 3-year-olds in the race really show a leap forward, then from that respect, Forte could be vulnerable.
A lot of the Derby handicappers are talking up a couple of horses, Randy. Our Arkansas Derby winner, Angel Empire, is getting a lot of talk, as is the Santa Anita Derby winner, the West Coast champ, Practical Move.
Yeah, all good horses. There's a lot of really solid horses this year. Of course, you can't like them all, so you have to try to look for things to separate horses. And sometimes maybe you look a little too hard, but you have to try to find something to separate the Santa Anita Derby winner from the Arkansas Derby winner, from the Bluegrass winner, et cetera, et cetera. Angel of Empire, if you didn't know anything about the horses this year, and you looked at Forte winning the Florida Derby and Angel of Empire winning the Arkansas Derby on the same afternoon, basically an hour apart, you would have thought Angel of Empire was the Kentucky Derby favorite and not Forte. Angel of Empire was more visually impressive than Forte was. Finished very strongly, looked like a horse that's going to absolutely relish the 1.25 mile distance. Practical Move looked good as usual, winning the Santa Anita Derby, but he got another perfect trip, just like he got in the San Felipe. He was on the rail all the way around in both races. And at the end of the Santa Anita Derby, he wasn't really putting away his field. He was drifting a little bit the last 16th of a mile, which could sometimes be an indication that extra distance might not be his friend. He's a son of a sire named Practical Joke, who was really a miler. He was Practical Joke. His sire was not at his best as the distances get longer. So I think that could be a vulnerability for Practical Move going forward.
Interesting international touch, though. The Japanese have really just been dominating racing worldwide, winning the UAE Derby and coming over with a couple of horses.
Yeah, these horses are very interesting, especially the UAE Derby winner, Derma Sotogake. It's rare in Dubai on Dubai World Cup Day when the UAE Derby is faster than the Dubai World Cup on the numbers, on the speed figure numbers. It hadn't happened in the last 15 or 20 years, but that's exactly what happened this year. Derma Sotogake ran exceptionally well to win the UAE Derby. The first time in his career he ever went wire to wire in a race, first time he was ever sent to the early lead. He ran arguably the most impressive Kentucky Derby prep, if you want to call the UAE Derby a prep, of any of the horses in this year's race. Now, obviously, there are questions. Travel, right? Derma Sotogake went from Japan to Saudi Arabia, from Saudi Arabia to Dubai, which is not much of a trip, but now making the transatlantic trip from Dubai to the United States. How much will the travel take out of Derma Sotogake compared to the other horses, obviously, who have been based in the United States? But he is a very talented horse. And he's flattered, Chris, by the fact that another Japanese horse named Mandarin Hero was shipped to California to run in the Santa Anita Derby. Mandarin Hero came from the class AAA of Japanese horse racing as opposed to the major leagues, the NAR circuit in Japan. He was considered to be roughly 4 or 5 lengths inferior to Derma Sotogake. And yet Mandarin Hero came about that far from defeating Practical Move in the Santa Anita Derby. It really flattered Derma Sotogake the way Mandarin Hero ran at Santa Anita. The other Derby horse is a horse named Continuar, who was well beaten by Derma Sotogake in the UAE Derby. But hey, you can't ignore any Japanese horse right now.
You know, speed figure guys look for these numbers, and I was shocked to see the best speed figure number so far. The buyer's number was a 101 by 2 fills, the winner of the Jeff Ruby Stakes, Steaks. What's this horse about?
He's a nice horse. He popped up on my radar last fall at Churchill Downs, and I actually expected him to win one of those Fairgrounds Kentucky Derby prep races this spring. He never did. Then he was shipped to Turfway Park and dominated the Jeff Ruby, but it was on the Tapeta synthetic surface. So that raises the question, since that was by far the best race of his career, is it because 2 fills was just improving, or is it because of the change in surfaces? He's bred really top and bottom to succeed on synthetic surfaces. So, you know, you've got to try to make a call there. And I think my call would be that's the synthetic surface that made all the difference. But when you talk about speed figures, Chris, now we don't make official buyer speed figures for races overseas, but you can have a pretty good guesstimate of the UAE Derby based on the Dubai World Cup. And we would estimate that Dermasoto Gake ran about a 105 or a 106 buyer speed figure equivalent winning the UAE Derby. So he would actually qualify as the fastest of all the Derby prep winners so far.
And finally, NBC analyst Randy Moss here, the Kentucky Derby. Got to ask you about our Oklahoma horse, Raise Cane, owned by Andrew Warren, the great Warren family and racing and stuff. His horse, President won the Gotham Stakes. Long shot, but, I remember a long shot last year, Rich Strike, we all kind of threw out.
Raise Cane, Chris, is going to need the same sort of setup that Rich Strike had a year ago, in my opinion, unless Raise Cane really takes a step forward from his recent form in the Bluegrass Stakes. And what Rich Strike got last year was an absolute pace meltdown. You really couldn't be too far behind in the Kentucky Derby last year because anything that was close to the pace was just totally exhausted by the time the horses hit the eighth pole or even earlier. And that benefited Rich Strike. This year, it doesn't appear that we have nearly the same level of early speed that we had in last year's Derby. So from that standpoint, I don't think Raise Cane is going to get the kind of pace that he would really need, in my opinion.
Well, it's always one of the toughest races to handicap because some of these, it's all new for these 3-year-olds, isn't it, Randy? The first time at a mile and a quarter, first time 126 pounds, first time 160,000 people. A lot of unknowns that make the Derby such a great race.
First time a legitimate contender goes from Japan to Saudi to Dubai to America as well. It's tough. And post position this year, because it's the race is pretty evenly matched, it's often overrated, but it could have maybe a little bit more of an impact this year than it normally does, especially since there seems to be very little early speed. But right now, the way the Japanese horses are running, Chris, I think this might be the year that Japan takes down the Kentucky Derby. If that happens, that would be a story that reverberates worldwide.
And finally, it's a very special 50th anniversary of the memorable 1973 Triple Crown of the Great Secretariat.
Yeah, we're going to be focusing on that partially, obviously, during our NBC telecast. Big Red. There's a lot of memories. Of course, I was only, a young teen when Big Red swept the Triple Crown, but I can still remember sitting in the living room watching all three races on television and cheering as he came down the stretch in the Belmont Stakes. If he's not the greatest horse of all time, he's up close in a very, very short list, and it'll be nice to go down memory lane and talk about Secretariat next weekend.
More Kentucky Derby talk next week with Randy Moss from Churchill Downs. Also have a special guest, Rick Dawson from Oklahoma City, owner of Rich Strike, the big long shot winner of last year's Kentucky Derby. He'll be a special guest on the show. In the meantime, we also want to remind you, Raise Cane, Andrew Warren, the Warren family will be there at Churchill Downs with their entry in the Kentucky Derby. We'll come right back with our Remington Report straight ahead.
Billy Sims knows barbecue. How about 9 meats, including brisket, chicken, pork, turkey, and ribs? Just to name a few, and 7 home-style sides. We start early to slow smoke the most delicious meats for over 12 hours.
Every day.
Wherever you want, online, dine in, curbside, or carry out. We've had a passion for over 15 years of serving delicious barbecue to people like you. Billy Sims has fast, drop-in friendly neighborhood service, loud enough for a tailgate and fancy enough for a wedding. Like we said, Billy Sims knows barbecue.
You did it, Tulsa. You name the team. We name the team. You name the team. The Tulsa Oilers indoor football team kicks off in March, Saturday nights, 7 p.m., BOK Center. Season tickets are on sale now. Go to TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com to get your season tickets now. Don't miss your chance to experience the fast pace, helmet hitting, pad popping excitement of professional indoor football. TulsaOilersFootball.com. TulsaOilersFootball.com.
This episode is sponsored by Equity Bank. Athletes work hard day in and day out to improve their game. They put in time and effort to stay in shape and bring their A game for the big day. Our tellers do the same thing with banking. We work hard to serve our communities and keep your money safe. Equity Bank. We never forget it's your money.
Remington Park Racing returns with the 2023 Spring Quarter Horse season, running from March 9 to June 3rd. $1 million races, multiple Saturday programs featuring the best horses in big money action, and racing champions all competing throughout the season. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Thursday through Sunday. First race at 6 p.m. nightly, Sunday afternoon racing 4 p.m. The top quarter horse paint and Appaloosa racing season continues through June 3rd at Remington Park.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
Another big night of racing at Remington Park this past week, and with a recap of it all, here's Dale Day.
A cooler spring evening greeted Remington Park Futurity Night. Overall, $1.7 million in total purse money, led by the Grade 1, restricted for Oklahoma breds, Remington Park Futurity. Let's take a look at the top performances of the evening. After a pair of scratches, the Remington Park Futurity field of 8 stepped into the gate to go 330 yards. The Futurity was an absolute runaway. They're off in the Remington Park Futurity. Left back, MH Trace Bird. Sharp start for Hamlin and Acapulco Bay. Dark Enemy now emerging with the lead, and Dark Enemy over halfway home is out by a good length, being chased now into second by especially good Candy. Dark Enemy in an absolute runaway to win it by 3. The Remington Park Futurity. Dark Enemy powered home easily to win it by almost 3 lengths in a very fast time of 16.402 seconds. TYKHE Racing of Mission, Texas owns trainer Santos Carrizales, winning the Remington Park Futurity for the 3rd time. He saddled the Dead Heat winners in 2022, so he's won it 3 times, including this year's romp by Dark Enemy. Francisco Ramirez winning the race for the first time. Dark Enemy, a 2-year-old filly, is undefeated in 2 career starts, winning the trial for the Futurity and the easy annihilation in the actual final. Dark Enemy on top in the Remington Park Futurity. The restricted Grade 1 Remington Park Derby for 3-year-old Oklahoma breds at 400 yards. A field of 9 loaded the gate after the scratch of number 1 Majestic MW. They're off in the Remington Park Derby. Quick start for Racey's Pilot, also way sharply hooked and gone. Now trying to come on between runners. RG's Gold Wagon, farther out, none of that. And a big run outside by DeForest. Hooked and gone battling nose to nose now with Racey's Pilot. Trying to come on. Aristides is right there. Hooked and gone has the advantage late. Hooked and gone trying to hold on to the line. Hooked and gone wins the Derby by a full length. Hooked and Gone overcame a little bit of contact at the start to roll in the Derby final. Overcoming a lot of contact in the trial, Hooked and Gone barely made it into the final, but once there was spectacular. Owned by Regina Lehman of Neosho Falls, Kansas. She's the breeder of the horse in Oklahoma. Victor Ibarra, the winning trainer. Christian Escada, the winning jockey. Hooked and Gone providing the connections with their first ever Remington Park Derby win. For the first time ever, the Remington Park Oaks was contested. 400 yards for Oklahoma-bred 3-year-old fillies, a field of 9 in the inaugural Oaks. They're off in the Remington Park Oaks. Quick start from middle of the gate for Double Digit, Cool and Foxy. Miss Katy Perry right there, and on the outside, Southern Sace coming on near the rail now. Kiss My Rona, and she's lost that love and feeling. Cool and Foxy has the advantage late. 150 yards to go. Outside, here comes Southern Sace. Cool and Foxy to the inside. Southern Sace outside. Cool and Foxy in the Oaks. Cool and Foxy had a great start and never looked back under jockey Daniel Torres, scoring the first ever Remington Park Oaks for owner Thomas Shekel of Bellevue, Iowa. Shauna Manriquez was the happy winning trainer, Daniel Torres the winning jockey, Cool and Foxy picking up her 4th career victory and setting history, winning the first ever Remington Park Oaks. Racing will continue Thursday through Sunday, April 27th through 30th as we wrap up the month of April. The first race is 6 p.m. nightly, except on Sunday when we start at 4 p.m. Saturday, May 6th is Kentucky Derby simulcast day. First Remington Park races at noon, the Derby simulcast from Churchill Downs at 5:30 p.m. There are still a few reservations available for plaza picnic options. Please visit remingtonpark.com or contact Group Sales for more information. At Remington Park in Oklahoma City, I'm Dale Day. Now back to Sportscene.
You can't be at Churchill Downs, be at Remington Park in Oklahoma City next Saturday. It's Kentucky Derby Day there. You can bet on all the Derby races on the card and, of course, the big race itself. By the way, they did report that they're sold out except for a few picnic on the plaza packages. Be part of the Kentucky Derby experience at Remington Park next week. Right back with my parting shot.
This episode is sponsored by Equity Bank. Athletes work hard day in and day out to improve their game. They put in time and effort to stay in shape and bring their A game for the big day. Our tellers do the same thing with bacon. We work hard to serve our communities and keep your money safe. Equity Bank, we never forget it's your money.
Remington Park Racing returns with the 2023 Spring Quarter Horse season, running from March 9 to June 3rd. $1 million races, multiple Saturday programs featuring the best horses in big money action, and racing champions all competing throughout the season. The normal Remington Park Racing Week is Thursday through Sunday. First race at 6 p.m. nightly, Sunday afternoon racing 4 p.m. The top quarter horse paint and Appaloosa racing season continues through June 3rd at Remington Park.
The Oklahoma Sports Hall of Fame, home of the Paycom Jim Thorpe Award, is a treasure trove of memorabilia honoring Oklahoma sports legends. For museum hours or to schedule a tour, go to oklahomasportshalloffame.org.
Billy Sims knows barbecue. How about 9 meats, including brisket, chicken, pork, turkey, and ribs? Just to name a few, and 7 home-style sides. We start early to slow smoke the most delicious meats for over 12 hours.
Every day.
Wherever you want, online, dine in, curbside, or carry out. We've had a passion for over 15 years of serving delicious barbecue to people like you. Billy Sims has fast, drop-in friendly neighborhood service, loud enough for a tailgate and fancy enough for a wedding. Like we said, Billy Sims knows barbecue.
You did it, Tulsa. You name the team. We name the team. You name the team. The Tulsa Oilers indoor football team kicks off in March, Saturday nights, 7 p.m., BOK Center. Season tickets are on sale now. Go to TulsaOilersFootball.com. That's TulsaOilersFootball.com to get your season tickets now. Don't miss your chance to experience the fast pace, helmet-hitting, pad-popping excitement of professional indoor football. TulsaOilersFootball.com. TulsaOilersFootball.com.
It's time now for Equity Bank Lincoln's 2 cents worth. Baseball, of course, the national pastime, the oldest of all our sports, dating back to 1869 with the Cincinnati Red Stockings. The National League formed in 1876. 2023, there are 30 Major League Baseball teams. Looking to add some new teams now. In fact, the last time they expanded was back in 1998. Remember, the National League added Phoenix, the Arizona Diamondbacks. The American League, they added Tampa, Florida, the Tampa Bay Rays. Well, soon, after almost a quarter of a century, the talk is getting serious about adding 2, maybe at least 2 more teams. Right now, the ones campaigning the strongest, the cities are Las Vegas. Everyone wants to go to Vegas. Nashville, Tennessee, and a bit surprising, Salt Lake City. They say Major League Baseball is a $10 billion a year sport, with $5.1 billion from Fox, the latest TV contract running through 2028. Upcoming TV deals also would expand with ESPN and Turner, and now they have a $300 million deal with a streaming service. No wonder everyone wants to play ball. That's my Equity Bank's 2 cents worth, my commentary for the week. Next week on Oklahoma Sportscene, it's Kentucky Derby Week. We're talking more to Randy Moss from Churchill Downs. Rick Dawson, the owner of Rich Strike, last year's Derby winner, the 80-1 shot. Oklahoma City will be on the show. And also a special guest, Bart Connor, 2-time Olympian. He'll have comments on the OU women's gymnastics team and the growth of gymnastics in the state of Oklahoma. All that coming up next week on Oklahoma Sportscene. Until then, we always remind you, be a good sport.